One of the true leaders in the outdoor, out-of-home space, and as one of our great partners, as we've been seeing other great partners at the Group M group of companies, is now going to take us through a very interesting case study. I'd like to introduce Mr. David Krupp. Please come up.
So I hate following Francois because, I mean, seriously, it's Francois and he gets to talk that eloquently, and then I get to get up here and give my spiel, and I, start all of these, and you try to come up with a great anecdote, and the only thing that I came up with, and it's sort of depressing, is that when I was packing to come to New York this time, my son said, "Why are you bringing a tie?" And I said, "Well, I've got a thing I got to go to, and I want to look nice." And he said, "Are you going to a funeral?" And I was about to say no, and then I thought, well, it depends sort of how this thing goes. So you guys are going to be the judge. It is my honor to be up here, and it's sort of interesting because I'm sure that there is one case study that we're going to do today, and fantastic that we get to present Unilever's Degree for Women case. There are probably dozens that we could be presenting. We just have the fortune to do this one today. So Degree, women, and let me just set this up actually. The brand is a challenger brand in the category, right? So Degree is actually, wouldn't you know it, third amongst some giants in the category. Secret being first, Dove being second, and then lo and behold, you have Degree for Women. And they suffer from, or you could look at it as an opportunity. I've learned over the years that you're supposed to take negatives and start to reframe them as positives. So an awareness challenge that they have to overcome. And so it gives them license to look at alternative routes for reaching consumers. And earlier today, Bob was talking about the context by which you can use digital play space, digital video, video everywhere. This is certainly one of those fantastic opportunities to look at how do you use video in all of its forms, certainly, but specifically in this case, to reach a consumer audience, to reach women in particular, to target them in a specific mindset, in a specific activity, during a specific behavior that is endemic to a relatively niche audience in many ways, but specific for this brand. We were launching at the time the Do More campaign, so there was right up the alley for why would you utilize new media, alternative forms of media, and equally Degree is all about efficacy. There was a technological advancement, if you will, in deodorant, if you can believe that, called motion sense. And motion sense is you start to move, it knows what you're doing, and it wants to get ahead of you sweating. So effectively, the brand, the deodorant itself, actually can help you stop sweating. So what do we do? Well, first we took a deep and hard look at our consumer audience. And for the Do More campaign itself, we got into the mindset of these women. And so what do you need? You need a guy like me standing in front of you talking about women 18 to 34, 18 to 49, and what that do more mindset is and what doers are. And specifically what they are women who look at how they can take control of their lives and go further, how they can activate and challenge themselves to be better, to be stronger, to be faster. To a certain extent, this is Jamie Summers from The Bionic Woman. This is who she is. She is able to push herself to feel better about herself, to do more, to go farther. She shares her passions, and she is passionate. And when they feel confident, when she feels confident, she's able to push boundaries that even she didn't know she was able to go beyond. Now, demographically, and unfortunately sometimes this is the way that we have to take a behavioral content or context and translate it down to a demographic so that we can look at CPMs, we can look at efficiencies, and we can look at it from a media standpoint. We ultimately started looking at women between the ages of 18 to 49 with a sweet spot between the ages of 25 to 34. And again, take that somewhat, I would say, with a grain of salt, because that is, again, from a media standpoint, what we start to look at when we start evaluating, well, how does this stack up from a CPM standpoint? How does this stack up relative to other media? we really wanted to focus on the behaviors. We really wanted to focus on where can we reach the audience. We really wanted to focus on how can we best contextually achieve our ambitions to reach this audience. So gym networks, you can see where this is going, right? Became a scalable and synergistic opportunity for us to push the message out and to reach these women in the right moments at the right time, and there are a couple reasons why. First and foremost, it's scalable. And you know, we've all, I think, in this room, for those of us who have planned the media and bought the media before, had that issue of, at least in the early days, it wasn't scalable, the media wasn't scalable. We're beyond that now, right? So we're at a point where there is scale in the media, there is scale in the marketplace, and we can achieve and have the conversation about how does this ratchet up, how does this scale up, and Zoom clearly had the opportunity to provide that for these women, for this brand. So we were able to generate mass scale. It provided incrementality to the overall buy. So women who work out on a regular basis, I believe the number was about 59% of them are light TV viewers. So effectively, it was great counter-programming to those women who we were going to have a difficult time reaching on and with broadcast television, first and foremost. So this was a great hedge against the broadcast that we were going to be putting out into the marketplace anyways. Contextually, and we talked about this already, there's no better receptive area than to reach women who we effectively already had established were doers than when they were doing. So in the gym, while they're working out, we were able to take our creative and put it up for them to view, and equally working with the Zoom, we were able to put together custom content. Barry keeps using the word or talking about native advertising, and I would almost argue the point that some of this actually was native advertising, you know, in the gym environment for the right audience. You know, we effectively, well, let's call it right now, we created native advertising in the gym network. And then from a Video Everywhere standpoint, it dovetailed nicely into the campaign to extend it beyond what was already going on, which was TV, full episode players, pre-roll, and mobile video. This was a nice extension onto it. So the campaign ran for 4 weeks. Media was tracked with third-party research. That's an important part, I think, for all of us to start taking advantage of moving forward. Work with your vendors, work with your agency partners, do it yourself, figure out a way to do it, because there's no better way than having the research in hand and being able to stand in front of a client after the campaign is over than to say, we know it worked because, rather than say, I think it worked, and so maybe we should do it again. You need the facts, you need to be able to talk about why it did work, why it didn't work, what can you optimize moving forward, and how are you gonna make this better. So the commercial ran in the gym where everybody was working out, the women were working out, and again, if we're going to talk about native advertising on the Degree digital signs, those were static. So to set these up, we had Alex Morgan, soccer player, was doing the full motion and sound, and let's see if this works, please work. These ran across the entire gym network, by the way. Here we go.
When I step foot on the soccer field, it feels like I can do anything. I mean, the sky's the limit. Being passionate means pushing yourself. For me, that goes beyond soccer. When I'm not on the field, I'm in the ocean, paddleboarding. If you're not sweating, you're not working hard enough. I don't just play soccer, I do more.
Degree, it won't let you down.
Okay. So the numbers, and the numbers are important. 56% total recall, 62% purchase intent. Now, if I had my druthers, we would have the numbers to say how many people actually purchased, right? So I think purchase intent is an important thing. I think knowing actually conversion is as, if not more important. We don't have that, but that's next time. Lift in purchase intent versus the control was up 44%. And of those in the test group who recalled the ad and believed that Degree left women feeling, left, you can read it. That was up 62%. But that's a good one, that attribution of confidence. And then finally, the efficacy association with odor and wetness at 36%. all of the numbers that we wanted to see going in the direction that we wanted to see, all of them quite positive, especially the total recall at 56% when, and Barry, TV is typically what, 25, 26%? Yeah. Low? 20, okay, so there you go. So from our vantage point, you know, the video everywhere was an effective part of the launch for a couple reasons. It was scalable. It helped generate what we consider to be mass awareness and incrementality, and incremental reach. It was an authentic way to showcase the brand to active doers, and it landed the key attributes and showed the efficacy of motion sense. And the research from our vantage point, again, showed proof positive that this was the right arena and avenue for us to be placing the message, and the right brand for the right environment, right? So this was the kind of brand that ought to be living in this environment, reaching these women. You know, it just made perfect sense and fit very nicely. So this is the case. I'm out of time. Thank you very much.
That's great, David. Well, do you want to answer any questions?
Do you want me to? Sure.
Would anybody like to ask any questions of David at all? We have time for just a couple of questions. We have one over here.
I only take easy questions.
Out of curiosity, did you encounter any resistance during the whole selling process? If so, how did you?
So the question is, did he encounter any resistance during the sell-through process of this?
No, you know, we, and Francois, you may actually be able to answer this easier than I. We did a lot of iterations, right? So there were high levels, medium levels, low levels, then let's go back up to there wasn't one plan that was, we nailed it right out of the gate. This went through a lot of iterations in order to get there. So no, I don't think this was ever about to fall off the face of the planning docket, but yes, this ran through a lot of different iterations.
Anybody else? Francois.
One question for you. David Berkman earlier said, last on, first off.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to the audience, irrespective of the Greed campaign, about last on, first off? As media evolves and our space is gaining speed, but it's still a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think that we need to start being part of, and that probably comes out a little wrong. I'd like to see briefs that take into consideration all media first, rather than bias towards certain media first and then additions after. So part of it, I think, is we need to be educating our teams about and pushing our teams to go get the brief, go get it and challenge the hell out of it, and, you know, fight tooth and nail and earn your place on the plan. And you know, I think some of that is breeding out the way that we've historically done it, which is accepting our fate. And so I think, you know, we need to be bringing in different disciplines into our, you know, again, as we run Kinetic, we look at it oftentimes as an out-of-home, where people look at it as an out-of-home planning and buying agency first, with a lot of extensions that go along with it. I would say that we're starting to change that model somewhat to, we're bringing in a lot of outside planning and buying disciplines, right? So we're bringing in traditional planners, we're bringing in, you know, digital planners, we're bringing in other thinking to help us be smarter about how do we plan in this new world order. So I know I'm going a long way to say, I think a lot of it starts with, we've got to be better about challenging the brief, we've got to be smarter about how do we earn our place on the schedule, and make sure that if you're buying television, if you're buying, you know, motion video players, you know, it seems like there's probably a big opportunity for us as well, because you've already got the assets available, and we should be making hay of that.
So David, are you talking more about communications planning, where as opposed to setting in this amount for radio, this amount for TV, this amount for out of home, aren't you really saying, let's follow the message?
That's a nice way
and then
to
get
say
the
it.
right media,
Yeah.
for them. And that's been more prevalent in media planning and buying today, but it seems that it's still got to get a little bit more of these.
Yeah,
things,
I think, you know, I don't want to start a panel, but we can bring other people.
Good.
Yeah, but I think, you know, we sometimes suffer from a world order where 70% of broadcast dollars are still laid down in the upfront,
Right.
and 70% of consumer time is spent out of the home. So there's an inherent disconnect
Yeah,
between
let's
how
get a
things
good
are
point
done,
there.
right?
Right,
So
right.
we should probably reconcile ourselves
Right.
with what's going on in the marketplace right now, and advertisers need to do that as well, right?
Excellent. And if
Okay.
we have television and out of home, then we've got a lot, or video. Well, David, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Pleasure.
Well done. Appreciate
Okay.
it. Thank you.